many people saying there's something wrong, something's happening, and it's big. Really, I think to continue to not acknowledge that imminent change is achieved only by dumb, stubborn, willful blindness.
Have you ever felt like something was seriously wrong all around you, but you just could not figure out exactly what it was? Well, you're not alone. Right now, millions of Americans are living in a strange state. On paper, the economy is booming and jobs are plentiful, but a feeling of anxiety and exhaustion is hanging over everything. They call it an invisible crisis. Politicians blame each other. The media is stuck, and nobody can explain why a superpower feels like it is cracking from the inside. In this video, let us tear away the shine of the American dream, and look at the price people are quietly paying for it. Do not forget to watch until the end, because the truth behind it could completely change the way you see the modern world. Payday used to be the day that people could finally breathe. Now for millions of American families, it is just a few brief seconds to look at the number in their bank account before every expense comes rushing in and tears it apart. Rent takes the first piece. Insurance takes the next. Electricity, water, gas, food, and medicine line up right behind them. And then the car starts making a strange noise. A child gets a fever. A bill you forgot about suddenly shows up. No single expense is big enough to be called a disaster. But add them all together, and an entire month of living turns into a brutal negotiation. Fix the car, or buy food, see a doctor, or wait longer, turn on the air conditioner, or deal with the heat, pay the credit card, or save enough gas money to get to work. That is how Americans get pushed into survival mode.
Bro, and there's just nothing else that you can cut back on, boy. There's no more cutting back on Starbucks, coffees, subscriptions. There's nothing left. I'm out here managing and budgeting using the vending machine. I'm going days where I'm like, bro, I ain't gonna eat for lunch. I'm gonna wait till I get back home. Ain't nothing else left to cut out. It's crazy. I'm making the most money I probably didn't ever make. Ain't no probably. I didn't ever made. Yeah, I don't ever see it. It be gone. The bills be snatching it. I'm not even gonna say we not making enough money. Everything just too high. Ain't no way at 36 an hour, getting close to 40 an hour, you just barely making it. You just be having enough and maybe a couple hundred extra. That's crazy. What is going on?
Okay, we can all see that this man is not unemployed. He is not working for minimum wage either. This is the highest income he has ever earned. And yet eat lunch has still become a financial decision. I hear that, and honestly, it is pretty hard to understand. Because people still love to say that all you have to do is work harder, earn more, buy less coffee, and stop eating out, and everything will be fine. But when the coffee is already gone, the subscriptions are already canceled, the restaurants are already avoided, and you still have to ask yourself whether you should eat today, then the problem is not some damn cup of coffee anymore. The paycheck comes in, and a whole line of expenses is already waiting at the door. And that is the part that wears people out. It is not just having too little money, it is having to calculate every breath. Fix the car, or buy food, see a doctor, or wait another month, turn on the air conditioner, or deal with the heat, fill up the gas tank, or buy only enough to get to work. None of the choices is actually good. There's only the choice that causes less damage. An unexpected $400 expense could be a set of tires, a water heater, or a trip to the emergency room. It does not sound like the end of the world. But for a family with no cushion left, that is the moment this month starts crushing the next one.
I don't know why I'm making this video, but like I feel like my husband and I are doing everything right. We both have good jobs. I'm a nurse. I'm a registered nurse. I work full-time. He works full-time. We just got paid this past Friday, right? We paid the mortgage. Bought some groceries. Put some gas in the car. And guys, it is Tuesday. And we have like $200 or $300 to last us until next Friday. Like, we don't live in a big house.
Did you hear what she just said? 4 jobs. Not 1, not 2. 4, both the husband and wife work full-time. They also clean offices and take extra work on the side. But just a few days after paying rent, buying food, and filling the gas tank, the entire family has only a few $100s left to make it through more than another week. I do not know what else people expect them to do. Get a 5th job? or work another night shift after already working all day. This family has done almost everything society tells people to do. They work, they take extra jobs, they pay the rent first, they buy food, they put gas in the car so they can go right back to work tomorrow morning, and their reward is spending 10 days staring at a few $100s and praying the car does not break down, the heater does not stop working, and nobody in the house gets sick. This is not budgeting anymore. This is living in a constant state of waiting for an accident to happen, so the solution is to find a better job, right? If you still believe the American job market is full of stable jobs that pay enough to live on and are just waiting for hardworking people to walk, in the next part it may destroy that illusion. Imagine that you have done almost everything adults ever taught you to do. You studied hard, went to college, earned a degree, learned another language, and spent hours fixing your resume. You may even be carrying student debt because for years people told you education was the ticket into the middle class. Then reality hits you right in the face. An entry-level position requires 3 years of experience. A normal office job demands a long list of skills but pays too little to cover rent. You send out 10 applications, then 50, then 100. Some places reject you automatically, the rest stay silent like you never existed.
This is the most humbled I've ever felt in my life. I'm literally holding resumes, a stack of them, so that I can go in person to places and say, are you guys hiring? It's honestly a little bit embarrassing because I'm literally applying for like minimum wage jobs, and some of them are being like, we're not hiring, and it's like, what? This is not what I expected. I graduated college with 2 degrees in communications and acting. I speak 3 languages. Oh, this sucks. Like, I just want to be a TikToker, if I'm being so for real with you. But I can't be delusional anymore. Like, I literally need to make money, and so I'm just gonna keep trying.
Look at the stack of resumes in her hands. This is not what someone who does not want to work looks like. Lohani has 2 degrees in communications, and acting, speaks 3 languages, printed her own resumes, and walked into coffee shops one by one to apply even for minimum wage jobs. Before the video went viral and brought her referrals, she was almost out of money and had received almost no meaningful response. What makes me angry is not just that she was rejected. It is the feeling of being erased from the game by a system where nobody will even tell you why. While businesses take their time waiting for the perfect candidate, the job seeker's rent still comes due. Food insurance and student loans do not stop. After a few months without work, savings disappear. Credit cards start carrying the bills. The car is at risk of being repossessed. And the entire family lives waiting for a phone call that never comes. Online, the market still looks full of opportunity. In May 2026, the United States recorded 7.6 million job openings, but only 5.2 million new hires. The 2 numbers measure different things, so you cannot simply subtract one from the other. Still, they prove that a posted job does not mean someone will actually be hired. In June, the official unemployment rate was 4.2%, but 1.9 million people had been unemployed for 27 weeks or longer, making up 27.3% of all unemployed people.
I feel like people think I'm being incredibly facetious when I say it's hard to get a job in LA right now, but I am currently going to the 3rd round of interviews for a cafe job, a server position that requires no education and no background, and I am going into the 3rd round of interviews for it because there were over 450 applicants for it. I just want to let that sink in. So here's my fit. Someone tell me it looks good and they'll hire me based on style alone. I thought the blue would bring out my eyes and the black would say that I mean business, baby!
3 rounds of interviews, more than 450 people, for a restaurant service job that does not require a degree or specialized experience. Are you kidding me? We are not hiring astronauts. Every round means more gas, more time, more childcare costs, and another unpaid day of hope. A business can delay. A person with children to feed cannot. A greenhouse survey also found that 61% of job seekers had employers stop communicating with them after an interview. Data from the platform classified 18 to 22% of the positions posted in a quarter as ghost jobs, meaning they were advertised even though there was no real intention to hire anyone. Americans are not just competing to get a job. They are competing to find out whether the door in front of them is actually open. And there is a reason many of those doors are slowly disappearing without companies ever having to announce layoffs. They are learning how to get the same amount of work done with fewer people. When people hear that artificial intelligence could replace workers, many imagine robots walking into factories, managers calling employees into a meeting room, and thousands of people being laid off all at once. But I think the scarier scenario is so quiet that we barely notice it. One person quits and the company does not hire a replacement. A team of 6 drops to 5, but the workload stays the same. The people who remain are given more tools and expected to move faster. There is no announcement about job cuts, there is just an empty chair that never gets filled. And if you think this only threatens data entry workers or content writers, look at the following man. He spent about 20 years developing the ability to read X-rays. Then an artificial intelligence system showed up and identified signs of pneumonia in just a few seconds.
So I'm about to lose my job, and this is scary because I developed this skill over 20 years. I just, boom, look at an X-ray and say, oh, here we go. We have right middle lobe pneumonia, maybe left upper lobe consolidation. Patient is very sick. She has bilateral pneumonia. We need to take care of her. But here comes AI, and of course, they pick it up in a second. So now, you don't need professional eyes to look at these X-rays. You just have artificial intelligence, and they picked up the pneumonia. So I'm going to be applying to McDonald's soon. I hope they have some openings.
20 years. 20 years of studying, observing patients, and training his eyes to recognize signs that most of us could never see. Then the software gives an answer in a few seconds, and even catches another spot he missed. He jokes that he may have to apply for a job at McDonald's. I laughed when I heard it, but it was the kind of laugh that sends a chill down your spine. Of course, artificial intelligence cannot replace an entire doctor yet. Reading scans is only one part of the job. Patients still need a human being to examine them, explain things, and take responsibility for treatment decisions. But a hospital does not have to replace every doctor to reduce hiring. If technology helps one person handle work that once required 2 people, the next position can already disappear. That is exactly the point. A business does not have to automate an entire profession. It only needs machines to handle reports, emails, data, and repetitive tasks. Experienced workers will take on more work, while entry-level positions are the first to be cut. The result is that young people lose the entire path into a profession. Stanford found that the employment among people ages 22 to 25 dropped noticeably in occupations with high exposure to artificial intelligence, while employment for more experienced workers remained more stable. This is a troubling sign, not proof that technology is the only cause. Businesses still demand 3 years of experience, but the jobs that create those 3 years of experience are disappearing. We are telling young people to climb to the second floor after removing the stairs. Meanwhile, the people who keep their jobs have to do more and have less power to negotiate. Higher productivity does not automatically turn to higher wages. The evidence so far also does not show that productivity gains have clearly turned into higher incomes or new opportunities. Here is the warning. Do not wait until millions of people receive layoff notices at the same time before believing that the labor market has changed. There is no layoff notice for a job that was never created. But even as opportunities disappear, wages get squeezed and workers have to do more just to keep their positions. The government still taxes every dollar they earn. And that brings us to an even more uncomfortable question people are being asked to contribute more and more. But how much are they actually getting back? Have you ever opened your pay stub and wondered what just happened to the money you earned? Federal income tax, Social Security, and Medicare are deducted before your paycheck ever reaches your account. Then there may be state or local taxes, property taxes, sales taxes, vehicle registration fees, and all kinds of other charges depending on where you live. Not all of this money goes to Washington. Different levels of government collect different types of taxes, but for the person paying the bills, it all comes out of the same wallet. I am not saying a country can operate without taxes. Roads, schools, fire departments, national defense, Medicare, and Social Security all need funding. But the question people ask is not always, why do I have to pay? The question is usually, after paying all of that, where exactly am I being protected? In fiscal year 2025, the federal government collected about $5.23 trillion, equal to 17% of gross domestic product, and spent about $7.01 trillion. These numbers show the enormous size of the system, but they do not automatically prove that a family pays too much or receives too little. They simply make the question harder to avoid with that much money involved, should the results be judged by how many programs exist or by how safe people actually feel. Look at healthcare. In 2024, Americans still paid about $556.6 billion directly out of their own pockets for healthcare. That number exists alongside insurance premiums, Medicare, Medicaid, and the taxes people already paid. So when someone still puts off seeing a doctor because they are afraid of the bill, is the system not protecting them enough, or are the benefits too complicated for them to reach Old age raises the same kind of question. A Federal Reserve survey found that only 35% of people who had not yet retired believed their retirement savings plan was on track. The reasons could include income-saving habits, the market, or family circumstances. But if most workers are not confident about their future, what should we expect Social Security to guarantee a basic minimum or truly stable retirement? Then people read that federal agencies reported about $186 billion in improper payments during fiscal year 2025. I need to be clear, improper payments does not mean all of it was fraud. Most of it was reported as overpayments. Some cases may have involved mistakes, missing paperwork, or recipients who were not eligible. But the public has every right to ask how much was recovered, who was held responsible, and why do the same kinds of mistakes keep happening? Maybe many benefits are still there, but rarely noticed. The bridge does not collapse. The fire truck arrives on time and the school opens every morning. But is that enough to convince a family that is paying taxes, paying insurance, and still handling healthcare and retirement on its own? This does not have to be a debate about whether government is good or bad. The real questions are, where does the money go? How are the results measured? And where can people actually see accountability? Because when the answers are unclear, anger can easily be redirected toward a neighbor, someone receiving benefits, or another group of people. And when trust in major institutions starts to weaken, suspicion does not stop at the budget. It begins creeping into the food on the table, and even toward the people living right beside us. Once people start questioning their jobs, their paychecks, and how the system uses their money, that anxiety does not stay inside reports and numbers. It reaches into the most personal parts of life, the backyard garden, the food on the table, and the reaction of the person standing nearby when someone is in trouble. A lot of families grow vegetables because they want to lower their grocery bill and take back a little control, not because they want to become farmers. A few tomato bean or cucumber plants may not feed the whole family, but at least they give you the feeling that you can still do something for yourself. Then the gardener in this video walks outside and finds that the tomato plants are starting to shrivel and curl, even though some of the other plants are still flowering.
Hey, gardeners of TikTok, we need your help because we are currently stumped with these tomato plants.
Basically, our tomatoes are all curly, and this happened at our old house 2 years ago, and we thought it was just due to up and down weather, which we kind of have had up and down weather.
What caught my attention was not just a few damaged leaves, it was the confusion in the grower's voice. You bought the seed, soil, and fertilizer, paid extra for water, and spent months taking care of everything. Then right when you should be bringing food into the kitchen, you're standing in the middle of the garden wondering what you did wrong. For someone gardening for fun, this is a disappointing season. But for a family trying to bring the grocery bill down, this is money they expected to save but never did. They still have to go back to the store and buy the exact food they hope to grow themselves while the money spent on seeds, water, and all that time's already gone. I also need to make one thing clear. One video does not prove that America's food supply is being sabotaged. Tomato leaves can curl because of heat water soil, pest disease, or herbicide drifting in from a nearby area. Vegetables can rot after heavy rain because the soil is waterlogged. Misshapen fruit can be related to pollination or weather. The grower's experience is real, but the cause cannot be determined from one short video. The problem is somewhere else. When people do not know whether to trust the seed stored in the manufacturer, the experts, or hundreds of conflicting explanations online, a failed garden begins to mean more than a few vegetable plants. Even trying to protect yourself starts to feel unpredictable, and that loss of trust does not only show up in the garden. Sometimes all it takes is for someone to struggle in a crowded place and realize they are still completely alone.
Guys, I just finished choking on a piece of food here in Walmart. And would you believe that nobody came and checked on me? I think they just thought I had like some sort of sickness or something. And you know what's crazy? I choked on a piece of sample that Walmart gave me.
I am not asking every customer in Walmart to become an emergency responder. Maybe they did not understand that she was choking. Maybe she could still cough, so the people around her thought it was not serious. But really, could not even one person walk over and ask, "Are you okay?" That's the detail that bothers me. Community rarely disappears because of one major event. It wears away every time we decide it is better not to get involved. One person is afraid of being misunderstood. Another assumes someone else will help. Someone else is too busy looking at a phone. In the end, everyone stands there and nobody does anything. The result is more than just loneliness. When people cannot rely on neighbors or strangers, every situation becomes more expensive and more dangerous. An older person falls, but nobody checks on them. Parents cannot find someone to watch their child during an emergency. A broken car means paying the full cost of roadside assistance. A sick person has nobody to drive them to the doctor. A support network once built through human relationships now has to be purchased with money. One video cannot prove that America has lost its compassion. Millions of people still help each other every day, but as people become more isolated, more suspicious of one another, and more afraid to step in, the sense of safety within a community starts to weaken. And here's the bigger picture. Americans are not just afraid of losing money, they are afraid that one day they will run into trouble and discover there is no emergency fund system or a person reliable enough to lean on. But at this point, an unavoidable question comes up: is this the result of a system that has changed, or are the choices and lifestyles of individuals also helping create it? At this point, a difficult question is hard to avoid. Are people truly being pushed into hardship by things outside their control? Or does some of the pressure come from the way they use their money? I understand why a lot of people lean toward personal responsibility. We have all seen someone complain that they cannot save money while a new car sits outside with payments stretched over 6 years. Some people make a decent salary but still eat out several times a week, constantly upgrade their phones, and keep paying for a whole list of services they barely use. In those cases, is the problem entirely the economy? If someone spends money to maintain an image chase status, or repeatedly turn wants into debt, is it fair to call every consequence a systemic crisis? Financial discipline still matters. Making a budget, avoiding high interest loans, buying a car you can actually afford, and building an emergency fund can make a huge difference. Not every complaint online shows us the full picture of the person's income, debt, and spending habits. Behind a tearful video, there may still be decisions that deserve a closer look. But is the story really that simple? Suppose someone has stopped eating out canceled services, drives an old car, and lives in a small home. What happens if rent, insurance, medical bills, and tuition still rise faster than income? How many cups of coffee can someone cut to make up for hundreds of dollars in insurance every month? How many trips do they have to give up to save enough for a down payment on a home that has increased in price by tens of thousands of dollars? The same salary of $70,000 can create two completely different lives. A single person living in a small town may still have money left to save. A family with children, student debt, and child care costs in a large city may barely make it through the month. So should we judge them by the income number, or by the money actually left after paying for needs they cannot avoid? Maybe the advice from earlier generations is still right in principle: work, save, and avoid debt. But can that formula still be applied exactly the same way when housing, healthcare, and education costs have changed? Or are personal responsibility and systemic conditions both having an effect at the same time? Maybe the fairest question is not who deserves the blame, but this: what can people still control, and what has moved beyond their ability to solve on their own? After all of this, the biggest question still does not have a clear answer. Is America entering a deeper crisis, or is it simply going through a bad cycle that will eventually correct itself? Prices may cool down, the job market may recover, technology may create new kinds of work, but will people's trust return as quickly as the numbers do? Because what is being worn away is not just savings. It is the belief that hard work will lead to stability, that contributions will bring protection, and that communities can still depend on one another when trouble comes. Maybe the system needs to change. Maybe people also have to adjust to a harsher time. But if more and more people are working more, paying more, and still feeling like they are falling behind, is this still a temporary phase? Or is it a sign that the foundation is truly shifting? Subscribe to the channel to keep seeing America through what people are actually experiencing. I will see you in the next video.